Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and greeting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on all of you. It's my second lecture regarding contribution of Muslims in science. Few people knew that today's science is based on the inventions, experimentation of Muslims in medieval time. But this is forgotten. In the West, you can't get any information about the scientific contribution of Muslims. So I have researched and got extensive information regarding the Muslims, what they did after Islam spread in the world, and how they contributed practically in all branches of science, almost. So this is the second lecture, and its topic is contribution of Muslims in political science. The conception of political science has undergone a great change since the time of Ibn Khaldun. We will know who is Ibn Khaldun, who is the originator of modern sociology and politics. He gave a totally new outlook to the political science and developed it on a different line, which was followed by such great political scientists as Vico and Machiavelli. Politics as it is today was foreign to the earlier medieval political theorists, who confined their treatise to the record of the characteristics of a good ruler and his relations with his subjects. But whatever political thought existed during the medieval era owed its growth to the genius of such political thinkers as Al-Mawardi and Nizamul Mulk Tusi. Even earlier, the instructions given by the Prophet of the Islam and his worthy successors, including Hazrat Umar Farooq Radiallahu and Hazrat Ali Radiallahu, to their lieutenants and governors on the policy to be followed in the civil administration and towards their non-Muslim subjects, will undoubtedly form an invaluable part of political administration for all times to come. In fact, the seeds of real democracy were sown by the second Caliph of Islam, Umar bin Khattab, in instructions which he had issued to his governors, in which he asked them to live like a common man, common people. He himself practiced that he preached and translated his ideas into practice. Mr. Gandhi once asked the Congress ministers of India to follow the ideals and examples of Umar ibn Khattab, the second Caliph of Islam. The Abbasid Caliphs, which is considered the golden period of Islamic intellectual development, produced some of the greatest Muslim historians who also wrote on political science. Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Muslim, who flourished in Baghdad and died in 889 AD, was the earliest Muslim writer in political science. He is the author of Ayun al-Akhir, a work in 10 volumes in which he has laid down the functions of the head of state and the principles which should guide him in selecting high functionaries. Shahabuddin Ahmad al-Rabi was another political writer of repute who completed his Sulukul Mulk during the reign of the Abbasid Caliph Mustasim, in which he laid down his ideas about knowledge, sovereignty, the administration of justice, revolution, wealth, and slavery. His writings are free from all partnerships. Abu Nasr Farabi was one of the greatest intellectual giants that the Muslims world had produced, and according to George Saturn, was conversant with the whole scientific thought of his age. He was thoroughly versed not only in philosophy, logic, politics, occult science, and sociology, but also in mathematics, medical science, and music. He was an encyclopedist, an outstanding mathematician and physician, an occult scientist, an eminent philosopher, and a distinguished musician. According to reliable historical source, he left behind him more than 100 works on diverse subjects, but only 15 or 20 are still exist. He had written less than 5 treatises on politics, namely a summary of Plato's law, Siyasat al-Madina, Ara Ahl al-Madina, al-Fazliya, Jawami al-Siyasat, and Ijtima at al-Madina. It was translated and published. Farabi was presented his conception of a modern city in his well-known work Siyasat al-Madina, Political Economy, to have been inspired the Republic of Plate and Politics. His ideal city is to be governed by wise men who are perfect both morality and intellectually. He lays great stress on the happiness and the high morality of the citizens of his model city. The book is in 34 chapters, translated and edited by the Atrisi, is of great sociological interest. Ikhwan al-Safa, it was a group of celebrated authors headquartered at Basra during the second half of the 10th century AD, compiled in 52 tracts the philosophical and scientific knowledge of their age. They divided politics into 5 parts, namely prophetical, monarchical, public, private, and personal. Ali ibn Muhammad, born in Basra in 1072 AD, was an eminent statesman and prolific writer on diverse subjects like religion, ethics, literature, and politics. The Abbasid Caliph Al Qadir Billah, who was 381 to 422 Al Hijrah, held him in great esteem, and Qaim bin Amrillah from 391 to 460 AD, the 26th Abbasid Caliph of Baghdad, has made him his roving ambassador. Al-Muradi was a political economist, and his monument work occupies an important place among the political treatises written during the medieval time. He wrote 4 treatises on political science. Number 1, Al-Hukm Sultaniya, means law of concerning rulership. Number 2, Adbul Wazir, means ethics of ministers. Number 3, Siyasatul Malik, king's politics. And number 4, Tahsilul Nasr wa Tijiri, facilitating the conquest and hastening victory. Of these, the first 2 books have been published. His Al-Hukm Al-Sultaniya, which has been translated into several languages, including French and Urdu, is an invaluable work on Islamic public of laws. The Adbul Wazir deals with the functions of the Prime Minister and lays down sound advice on public administration. He had much personal experience of practical politics, as on several occasions he was sent by the Caliph of Baghdad on statesmanship was to a great extent His vice-statesmanship was to a great extent responsible for maintaining the prestige of the diminishing caliphs of Baghdad over the two powerful and almost independent Seljuk and Bayad Amirs. Abu Ali Hassan ibn Ali, as Nizamul Mulk Tusi known as, was the celebrated Grand Vizier of the Seljuk ruler Malik Shah. Being one of the ablest and most talented prime ministers that the Muslim world has produced, Nizam-ul-Mulk Tusi ranks high among the great administration and the statesmen of the world. He was born in 1017 AD, received his higher education at Baghdad, and successfully served as the minister of the two successive Seljuk rulers, Alparslan and Malik Shah. He was a great patron of learning and was the distinguished founder of the world famous Nizamiya University of Baghdad. He was the principal figure behind the glorious reign of Malik Shah Seljuki. Nizam al-Mulk wrote in 1092 AD for the guidance of Malik Shah his monumental politics treatise Siyasat-Nama, which stands as a landmark in the annals of political treaties written during medieval times. Being an able administrator, he has incorporated his practical experience in this book, which served as the Magna Carta for an ideal state. It deals with such topics as kingship, judiciary, function and qualifications of all classes of officers, etc. It was written in the Persian language and contained 50 chapters. Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, his time was from 1058 to 1111 AD, known as Al-Ghazali in the West, was one of the most eminent thinkers of Islam, being appointed the distinguished principal of the celebrated Nazmiya University of Baghdad at an early age of 34. Imam Ghazali wielded great political and spiritual and social influence over the world of Islam and was held in the high esteem of Caliph. He incorporated his experience with truth in his brilliant work Ahya al-Ulum, which inspired later writers and brought about the revival of mysticism. In this immortal work, he has exposed the so-called philanthropists and social workers whose charitable and social works are generally guided by selfish motives. The ulama have sold their consciousness to the lust of wealth and power. His political ideas are found in a number of his work, including Ahya al-Ulum, Manaqib min Dilal, Ta'bir al-Masbuk, Siraj al-Alameen, Fatiha al-Ulum, Kimia Sada, and Kitab al-Wajz. He had dealt with multifarious political and social topics which agitated the minds of the medieval political thinkers, namely democracy, constitution, judiciary, function of the head of states and its executive, slavery, and civil administration. The Qabasnama, dealing with the function of the ruler and the high functionaries of the state, has written the Amir Ansar al-Mani in 1082 AD. Its political treatise of considerable importance. Abu Bakr Muhammad in during 1060 to 1126 AD, known as the author of monumental political treatise Siraj al-Mulk. It contains 64 chapters in which political thought has been subordinated to ethical consideration. This work had a great influence on contemporary and the later political thinkers, including the celebrated Ibn al-Khaldun. Now, let's discuss about Ibn al-Khaldun. As has been noted earlier, Ibn al-Khaldun, Muslim historian and political philosopher, was one of the greatest intellect of his age and one of the most outstanding thinkers of all times. His contributions to the study and development of historiography were of singular importance and have been described in a previous chapter. It also has proved to have remarkable insight into social and political phenomena and advanced a number of political theories which were later accepted by other political thinkers. Ibn Khaldun's summary of qualities required of a ruler, as stated in his monumental work Kilab al-Ibar, is worth quoting here. The sovereign exists for the goods of the people. The necessity of a ruler arises from the fact that human beings have to live together, and unless there is someone to maintain order, society would break to pieces. He observed that there is a constant tendency in an oriental monarchy towards absolution, towards unlimited power. So, undoubtedly, the tendency of the oriental governors was towards greater and greatest independence of central authority. So, earlier, Al Mawardi has pointed out that unlimited powers of the governors during the declining period of the Abbasi Caliphate, when the government was acquired through usurpation and the central authority had little control over them. Ibn Khaldun was more realistic in his approach towards the solution of intricate political and social problems at a time when Muslim world was passing through the most critical phase of its existence. The later political thinkers, both in the East and the West, were deeply influenced by the writings of Ibn Khaldun. So, my friends, we have seen that we are talking about medieval time. In that time, today's Europe, that was in darkness, totally darkness. So these philosophers, thinkers, historians, writers got all the information, education from Quran, because Allah has guided in His last revelation the principles of everything scientifically. So this was my second lecture of contribution of Muslims. The topic was in political science. Okay. Thank you. See you next time.